Hi guys, and welcome to the week 8 recap of Hannah's season of The Bachelorette. I don't have any baloney, but this episode was still pretty cheesy if you ask me. So this week we are in the Netherlands, and it is somehow the week before hometowns. No idea how that happened. So do you guys remember last season when Kirpa had this big bandage on her chin and it was just never addressed? Well, that's how I feel this episode about Hannah's voice of death, which continues on through her whole date with Jed. But before we get there, Tyler was kind of annoying this episode. I gotta say it. And we'll get into all that. But first, he's addressing the Luke drama and says that they just need to nip it in the butt. That is not the term, Tyler. It's nip it in the bud. In the bud! So now we get to Jed's date. Before the episode, they showed previews of someone leaving, and I was so sure it was going to be Jed. You know, all like the ex-girlfriend stuff and the music drama. But as this date went on, it became much more clear that that was not going to happen. So Hannah and Jed go on like an exploration date. I feel like there's been a lot of exploring around certain towns this season. But as they're exploring, Hannah and Jed, for some reason, shop hoopy and must find it extra romantic because then they just immediately kiss. And as they're kissing, I notice she has a ring on her left finger, which is terrible luck. Everyone knows you're not supposed to do that. And she's totally not getting married at the end of this. But then we see them sitting with the old married couple, which was really cute. But the woman is talking about how she's been married to her husband for 60 years and how great it is and da-da-da. And meanwhile, her husband is like in the background, sitting with his head down, thinking to himself, dude, save yourself before it's too late. But then Hannah and Jed sit and they're talking. And speaking of raspy voices, I'm sorry, I only woke up about an hour ago. So Hannah and Jed they're having a conversation, and I like that she brings up how difficult it is for her to like go from one guy to the next guy to the next guy and still somehow be able to just be completely open with them. It's got to be hard to be like objective, so to speak, with each guy. Because I know with me, if you like really like somebody, then you just kind of want to like just dive in and let yourself be consumed with it, you know? It could totally just be me, but then they get to dinner, talk some more, and Jed tells her that this is the best day that he's ever have. First, we've got Garrett telling her that he's falling in love for her. Now Jed's just telling us all about just the best he's ever have. What is happening with our education system? See what happens when I leave teaching? And then there's more talk about the heel clicking and how that is when Hannah knew that she was falling for him.
There's no place like
Jed. And then this just like giddies the heck out of Jed. And I was pretty suspicious about him at first. But even though I'm not on Team Jed, it's clear that he like really likes this girl. Either that or he is an extraordinary actor. But I bet there's like a little something in the back of his mind thinking like, oh my gosh, how great would this be for my career? Imagine me being the winner. He would have like the craziest amount of publicity, which would be great for him. But I think he likes her. So now Tyler gets the next one-on-one. And I'm feeling extra bad for Connor. This poor guy is like heartbroken. He gets sort of screwed over with his one-on-one date. I thought it was better that they kind of were just hanging out in her room. And now everyone has had 2 one-on-ones besides him. And I think besides Luke, but we all know Luke doesn't need the one-on-ones. But this one-on-one date with Tyler brings out the sissy in him. I was really kind of disappointed watching this. First of all, he's a little scared to horseback ride. I'm glad that he does it. But he also has no command over that horse. Let's go! Forward! Yeah, that'll do it. But then he almost throws up eating pickled herring. And how is it possible that your worst nightmare is pickled herring? That's way too specific. But Hannah was right in saying that he needs to man up, because he does. If it were me on that date, I would be turned off the whole entire time after that. Now, unfortunately, after this part of the day, as they go in to have their conversation, our TV glitched. Did this happen to anybody else? We saw like a quick flash of this like horror movie girl, and then everybody's voices turned to poltergeists up until the next commercial. But it was hard. I couldn't even focus on their conversation. I missed the whole thing. I think they were talking about hard times or something. Can you guys like catch me up? In Spectrum, can you figure it out? But I saw that he got the rose, which I kind of expected. And then after that comes Connor's departure. I really liked Connor. But the poor guy is coming to Hannah's hotel room because he just wants to have a conversation with her. He wants to have more one-on-one time because he's not getting the one-on-one date, which like I thought that was a good idea. But it turned into Hannah telling him that he's kind of like too passive on group dates, and that she wasn't really feeling it, and that he should just go home right now. She wasn't harsh like that, obviously. I mean, she couldn't even look him in the eye when they were talking, so you just knew. And then Connor, I think, was really accurate in saying that they started out great, but then lost momentum. And in this like scenario, you really have to have momentum, or else your relationship is naturally just going to fizzle out to the other relationships. It's really a weird concept because if they had just like met on the street, they probably could have had a successful relationship, because she doesn't have to constantly compare him to a bunch of other guys. But it's The Bachelor. And then we get to the bike with Mike. Mike's second one-on-one, which I feel like he just had a one-on-one. So that to me makes me think that this is a make or break date for her. Like she's trying to figure out if she wants to keep him or let him go. Otherwise, she probably would have just put him on the group date. And this concept like freaked me out a little bit, because that would mean that if Mike gets a rose, then only one rose is left for Peter, Garrett, and Luke. I mean, obviously I want Peter to get the rose, but I also kind of want Luke to get it. So anyway, they spend the day painting each other. And this actually was not another naked date. I thought it was going to be. They were actually painting pictures of each other. And basically through this, we find out that Mike is not an artist, and neither is Hannah. But then comes dinner, and this is the dinner that just doesn't ever really happen, because Hannah's in a room full of paintings and crying. And all I can think is she for real crying at these paintings? Like, do you have an artistic soul, or are you just going to send Mike home? And yeah, she's just going to send Mike home. That's the only reason she could be crying. I don't even want to talk about their breakup conversation because it was so sad. First, you hit me with Connor, and now we get Mike. Gina was over on the couch with her face like covered. We just could not bear to watch. Poor Mike will not have Hannah as his fourth queen. And now all of you that are saying that Mike should be the next Bachelor, I'm like kind of with you. I can feel that. Okay, but now we get to a really frustrating part of this episode where the guys are just conversing. Tyler, what are you doing? He's acting like a high school boy who needs to prove his manhood. My likeness meter for him this episode just went down, and then it went down again. But then Garrett starts talking, and I want to rip my ears out. I wish I could describe in words how irritated he makes me, but I can't. So I focus on Peter and just think about Peter, and everything was fine. But then we get to the group date, and here they finally sort of address the voice thing. Luke asks her if she's feeling better, so I'm assuming she had a cold. But anyway, Luke is the first to pull her aside, and he just immediately starts talking bad about the guys, and I'm just like, Luke, can you give this poor girl a break, please? We have 3 weeks left, essentially. Hometowns, fantasy suites in the final, and she's still dealing with this crap. However, I do think he brought up some valid points. Like, man, I'm really sick of defending you, Luke. The truth of the matter is, if these guys would just shut up, we wouldn't be dealing with anything. Just like if Luke annoys you, just close your ears off. I feel like they're hanging on to the first few weeks of all this when Luke really was just a pain in the neck. But I think he's improved since then, and the guys just like refused to allow that to be the case. Their panties will just always be in a bunch. And then Garrett gets to talk to Hannah, and he says to her, he accentuates that he told her he was falling in love with her. The producers probably told him that he said it wrong, and he kind of needed some redemption. But then Hannah brings up Luke. She brings up the drama, and it's just, you knew then that it was going to end badly. And she actually tells Garrett, who handles it well, but she tells him that he's kind of a little too reactive with that stuff. And she might be right, but I feel like she's also proving that she loves Luke. She's like defending her man. That's what I got from that. But somehow Garrett leaves this conversation and thinks that he's just got it in the bag. And he is going to go to Luke and Luke is going to get shut down. But he goes up to Luke and gives him the most devious, awful, annoying smile I've ever seen in my life. I literally yelled at the TV. And they start their argument and Garrett's still smiling. I can't even like reenact the smile. Excuse me. That's not it. But this smile makes me want to throw up. Garrett also teaches us a new lesson, another perk to education. The only thing you need to do to prove that you really know somebody is just throw the double pistol. That's all you need, guys. It's so dumb. This whole scene, I was expecting, based on the previews from the beginning of the season, I thought it was going to be like a group date where guys had to act out. And I thought maybe they would just put Luke and Garrett together because they naturally already have drama. But no, it was real. The pile of bologna was also real. And Garrett, you can't just take the bologna and put it back on the platter. Nobody's going to eat it. Just touched it. That was really like annoying on your part, Luke. You were planning that out in your head for a long time. And Garrett, you can't call Luke childish after what you just did. You both were childish. Peter's actually even getting annoyed with Luke. Which, why is nobody getting annoyed with Garrett? But Peter gets the rose. So that's one positive from all of this. But now we get to the 2-on-1 date that we were missing all season. We never had one. And here it is. Garrett's nauseating confidence takes over again. And he looks at Luke and asks him if he's licking his lips because he's attracted to him. Garrett, you literally just winked at him. I can't stand this guy. Luke talks with her first and kind of describes his journey to faith. And I don't want to minimize his story. If it's a true story, that's really awesome. But something tells me that he pulled this one out of the bag with purpose. I think he knows how much of a godly person Hannah is and that she would connect with him on that. And when you're on a 2-on-1, you want to increase your chances as best as you can. I think he knew that. So then she says, "Do you want to kiss me?" "Yeah." "Okay." And then he secures the rose. That's it. Then it's her and Garrett tells her he loves her. And I think this is his attempt to try to secure his rose on the 2-on-1. But that's not going to work. I mean, his goal was to shut down Luke. So what better way than to be the first person to tell Hannah that he's in love with her. For her. I'm just not buying these guys. But then Luke gets the rose. And I feel bad for Garrett. 10 seconds earlier, I was like begging him to just leave and go home. And now I feel like I want to give him a hug. This Bachelor stuff is sorcery. But just a quick side note, thank you, Garrett, for pointing out Hannah's red nose because I've been hesitant to this whole time. But then aside from the previews, that really sums up this whole episode. So the previews, I think it's evident that Jed makes it to Fantasy Suites. Luke also makes it to Fantasy Suites, and it sounds like he gets booted because he's just an idiot and brings up dumb things again. And I think, so Hannah says that she has relations with somebody twice. So that must mean it's on the show with one of the Fantasy Suite people. I really need to start filming my initial reactions like as I'm watching the show and just post that because it's way better. I just cannot accurately articulate the way that I feel when all of these moments happen. This was a crazy episode for sure. But next week should still be fun and most likely drama-free because this will be the first time ever that all of the guys are like separated. They're in different states, but we'll see how it goes. So thank you guys so much, as always, for watching and for talking with me in the comments and venting with me and sharing all of our frustrations. It's just so fun. And we will do it all again next week. I'll see you guys later.